indexing our newspapers. And Professor Gary Stanton and students have doubled it by putting it online. And one day I searched on the word church, and not surprisingly I got a fair number of listings, but one of them, dated 1823, was a letter to the editor, and it said, "Sir, I was walking downtown and I saw some lumber lying on the Episcopal graveyard, and I am told they are going to build over that graveyard. Will no one tell these people how to take care of their honored dead?" And the next week, there was a much longer piece in the newspaper. It said, "Sir, the vestry has considered this matter for 3 years. We have contacted the available descendants of all those whose graves will have to be moved. What would you have us do if we can't have a proper Sunday school building for the poor children of Fredericksburg?" So we got the building. And by the way, the Sunday school for the poor children, Sunday school in the 19th century was a major educational resource for all sorts of children, not just the children of the parish. Sunday school is an misunderstood aspect of our past, and many Americans of considerable repute got their first education in a free school at a church, not where they went to church. In any case, Marion, therefore, based on that story, I have suggested the date of 1823 for this building as a Sunday school.
It really originally had a stepped in.
Yes. Are you going to propose that we put it back, I hope?
You didn't hear me say that.
Oh!
Didn't I? 3 years to decide.
I thought I heard.
3 years to decide.
Yeah, it originally had a sort of false front, stepped design, and about the time we did some other colonializing things to this plant, that got put to a more colonial.
Actually, it came down during Mr. Faulkner's early years.
Yeah. At any rate, then, of course, the other biggest project was the building of Faulkner Hall, named after this fellow, as the great educational complex connecting the two buildings. There had been an earlier piece of building on the church proper, and of course there had been many projects. I mentioned the AIM 2000 project and the project that's now underway for further enhancement and improvement to the nave and the chancel and things of that sort. But that's what got us to where we are now. Next week I'm going to go on in more detail about 19th and 20th century things. I just want to say that a particular theme of great interest to me is the way that St. George's has been a great leader in doing things beyond the church. And you all are familiar with the things that we have done in fairly recent years, like founding Hope House and the homeless shelter, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, being the home to the Greek Orthodox congregation before it got its own, being home to the Jewish temple before they got their own. And there are just 1,000 things like that. The female charity and male charity school endowments, which we still administer, are part of that. And I have a sense that that is a piece of St. George's life that owes at least a little bit again to Maguire. During his rectorate, St. George's provided a priest for a church in Falmouth, paid the salary of 3 rectors where the churches could not pay elsewhere, had 5 missionaries elsewhere in Virginia, and 2 missionaries in Africa. And I think of that as a fairly major part of the beginning of our helpfulness and outreach, and a sign of things to come. The other side of that is our sometime narrowness. And we have to keep that in mind. In the middle of the 1700s, for instance, the vestry passed a motion that no longer could black babies and white babies be baptized at the same service.
There's an interesting piece in Faulkner's memoir here.
Yes.
About the period early in his rectory, which his rectory was known then as being troubled with immigration issues.
Right.
He'd invited a citywide, with the Ministerial Alliance, they invited people for Holy Week services and deliberately said that they were open to all comers. And so there were some black attendees at Holy Week services. And he then had a 3-year running battle with the vestry over the issue.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating, difficult, sometimes story. And we'll talk about some of those things. I can't let these last couple minutes go, however, without speaking to this man who has become another part of our history, and who has John, what wonderful word about history and future and so on have you for us?
Well, I hope you got the flavor of St. George's usual outward looking instead of inward looking. One of the things that impresses me about St. George's, that when I came to meet here as your interim, the vestry said, we are committed to 50-50, 20-20, and 100%. And what they meant by that is 50-50 in terms of giving, that they would spend as much outside the parish as they spend on themselves. That boggles the mind. And they are working very hard towards that goal. It's a sign of a very healthy congregation. Congregations that only look at themselves and focus inward eventually die. And I don't think that's going to happen because St. George's is looking outside. So 2020 means that they intend to double their membership by the year 2020. And 100% is that they realize that 100% is unattainable. But they want every parishioner to have some contact with some parish organizations in small groups. That is a sign of a very, very healthy congregation. And it's been incredible to be a part of a healthy congregation. It's also been incredible for me because I love history, and this parish, this town is soaked in history. So, thank you.
Show me the word of wisdom on history.
Word of wisdom on history. I think, well, it's important to know our history, warts and all. People ask me to characterize this church, and I say it's a historic church, but with an open mind, that looking back helps us to look forward, and this is a very forward-looking parish, even though we have almost 300 years of history. I need to let you know that because we're having special guests from the Rosebud Mission in South Dakota, that this wonderful series will have just one more Sunday. Lois Antoine and Bonnie Carey-Shirt from the reservation are going to be with us to speak at both services on the 26th, and they will be doing a question and answer session at Forum Hour as well. So,
But we will meet here next
we'll meet
week
here
in Faulkner.
in Faulkner Hall.
All right.
Faulkner.
Come with your questions,
Sorry.
your ideas, your information. And my friend Bob Dean, what thoughts on history and the church have you for us today?
Well, my first church had no history. It was for retirement. I went there church that appeared in many architectural books. Perfect acoustics. Altar in the center of the church. Choir in the balcony over 1/3 of the church that I faced as I celebrated. Everything came out in the center easily, and we had a lot of theater people that put on theater. We filled the church with 400 people 2 nights in a row at $1 each. It was just one wonderful start. The bishop sent me there. I wasn't called to this congregation with no building and no land. But I found the people were all about the age, the adults were about the age of my wife and me with little kids like ours. What a congregation to have. So I've been lucky all my life.
One of
And
the
we
things,
found St. George's because of the docents taking us through. And we fell in love with Charles Sydnor. And the congregation and the music seemed wonderful to us.
next week, well, I guess we'll get started.